You're now live. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Well, friends, can I welcome you to the meeting of the National Parks Authority? Gai chroesawu chi gyd yn gynnes iawn I gyfarfod o'r awdurdod Aled Edwards. Ydw I a fi ydy'r cadeirydd. I'm Aled Edwards. I'm the chair. We have received a number of apologies. We have Councillor Liam Cowles and Councillor Scott Emmanuel. And we've had other apologies as well, haven't we, Gemma? Just to check with you. Is it Jeremy and...
Yeah, Councillor Jeremy Davis and Councillor William Powell.
Thank you very much for that.
And one absent, Councillor Andrew Davis. Okay,
thank you for that, Gemma. Diolch yn fawr iawn am hwnna. Going on to item 2, correspondence. Am I right in assuming that we have none, Gemma?
No, I haven't received any.
Okay, and similarly for item 3, for declarations of interest, mynegiant o ddiddordeba, I haven't received any, is that correct?
Yeah, correct. I have not either.
Okay, thank you. And the 4th item, as is our custom, may I remind the public that you're always free to come and make a presentation to us, but for today, I'm not aware of any request for public speaking.
No.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Moving expeditiously to item 5, which is the minutes for the meeting of the National Park on the 28th of March. Can we please have a proposer and a seconder to attest the fact that they are an accurate record of that meeting? Can I have a proposer and a seconder, please? Hugh and Gareth, thank you both very much. So the vote is to approve the following minutes of the authorised chair to sign them as a correct record, the National Park Authority for the 28th of March 2025. So over to you for the vote, Gemma. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy to take hands up for this. Everybody's on screen, so I'm happy to show a hand in a minute. Thank you all.
Okay. Are we all content? Yes, it looks as if we are. Okay, moving on to item 6, which is the action log, and this is for noting only. Any comments on the action log from anyone? Gareth, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I know it's for noting, but obviously the action log is regarding a task for Catherine around getting extra member of staff in, looking at fundraising, etc. I see this as a really, really key part of the authority moving forward. We look at our funding and our core fundings slipping back year on year, and the way that the authority will look in years to come, we need to ensure that we're starting now to get those positions in place and give Catherine the tools. And this is going to be a very key role, I feel, for the authority. So is it possible to have an update, because it is an action log, and I think an update on that, and just obviously, Catherine, you know, what can we do to help you move this forward? Because I'm concerned that obviously if we go to another meeting, and I know the workload you and the senior officer are under, that I don't want us, obviously it's one of those that I think as an authority, I don't know what other members think, that actually, you know, we need to task you a little bit to get on with this.
Catherine?
Yeah, happy to respond on that. Yeah, I think it is always the tricky task focusing on the recruitment when everyone's busy, but I agree. I think the sooner we can get this fundraising post in, the better. I think there have been some discussions between the finance team and the natural capital team. I personally hope this will go forward as part of the sort of work that Kath is doing on looking at green finance and sort of getting the skills together there, but obviously working across into the finance team as well. I think given the urgency that you see around this, I will work with colleagues in HR to try and get this moving. I think there's another really key post as well that needs to be pushed along, and that's the post that will lead on the local development plan as well. So I will press colleagues on both those posts. I know Gareth has done all the work to bring together the job description and all of that. The issue we have is with the evaluation of the post in terms of the level of remuneration, and I think it's that bit that needs pushing along. So I'll speak to colleagues and try and push that along more quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Simon, Councillor Howard, could you please come in? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, everyone. Yeah, very valid point there, Gareth, about trying to move this forward. As we know, we've had this on the agenda for quite some years now. Just two quick questions. Would it be prudent of me to ask Chair to just mention that, thanking all the volunteers we have within the parks for all their hard work they do in keeping our parks as they are. Without them, it would be really difficult because, as you know, in every authority as well, we have many hundreds of volunteers doing all sorts of jobs and aspects of work there, and without them, it would be really, really difficult. The other question is our service level agreements. Did we actually incumbent our increases on the service level agreements this year as reference to the funding that we seek on the basis of is with the cost of living crisis, etc., the extra money that it's costing us to run the parks? Did we make sure that the fair share is being paid on service level agreements than just absorbing it, which is impossible to do? As we're saying, we are where we are, but we can't do a lot about it until we actually raise some funds. So service level agreements is a way of raising funds, or are we still being charitable to a lot of organisations? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Simon. Can I just feedback on the volunteer thing? We do constantly thank our volunteers. I'm sure Catherine will attest to that, and we were able to meet with some of them recently as well. But over to you, Catherine, for those two questions, if I may.
Yeah, volunteers, thank you very much for noting that. I know that would be appreciated. It was recently National Volunteer Week, and we took the chance to really celebrate the work of volunteers around the park. I'm also trying to increase opportunities to nominate some of our volunteers for awards and that sort of thing, just to sort of show our appreciation and thanks for the really diverse range of things that they do for us, not just always the obvious things. On the service level agreements, I know we do bake in overheads costs in terms of kind of rising pressure on our budgets, etc. The specifics, though, I don't know if Richard could answer. I think we would possibly have to come back to you on, in terms of the, I assume you mean the ones around sort of looking after rights of way and that sort of thing for local authorities. Richard, I don't know if you can answer that. If not, we'll take it as an action and come back to you separately.
Richard?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah, following the previous meeting, I did consult with some of the officers about the last time the service level agreements on right of way were reviewed. I think the answer was that the officers are regularly in discussions with their counterparts in local authorities. So it is an ongoing issue, and it is regularly discussed. That said, it's a very valid point that if we're given our financial predicament, we probably need to be pushing them a bit harder with regard to revising the level of payments. But yes, but we can certainly take an action from this meeting to pursue that further.
Thank you all very much. Thank you, Simon, for that question. Can I just have a quick show of hands to show that we're content with noting the action log? Okay, thank you all very much, friends. The chair's announcements, item 7, just to give you a quick little journey through what I've been doing. It was a great joy to go to Llandoches School for the Schools of Sanctuary. That was quite a thrill. And a very good meeting with Gareth as well. Both of us were there for the SAPA Armed Forces Charity Awareness Evening a few nights ago. We've met with our National Parks colleagues in Pembrokeshire and in Eryri, and those conversations are always very fruitful and very, very engaging. We've had the Members Development Day, and thanks to the Recovery Directorate for that very, very useful day. I think all of us who were there found it immensely rewarding and very informative. I think the more that we can communicate with each other what we do as a park, that is good. I was there also with colleagues in the investigation of the new mayor of Brecon. I thoroughly enjoyed that process, actually. It was very, very good to be there for that. And also, we just to highlight that many of us were there for Fran to receive her BEM. As some of you know, the pioneering the work that Fran has done, particularly with the community, and from my end of things, the refugee community. It was a joy to be with her there. Can I remind members formally as well that we've already received the self-nomination forms from Democratic Services, and to try and, if you could please, to complete them by the 6th of June, and then members will be appointed to committee via the forms, and only gaps will be addressed at the AGM. So that's a brief comment from me. Simon, did you have a comment? Sorry, as a legacy hand, sorry.
Sorry, Aled, that was a legacy.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much for that one. Okay, then. So let's move on then to item 8, which is Catherine's announcement. Over to you, Catherine. Thank you.
Just before I start, I think Professor John would like to come in.
Thank you, Catherine. Diolch, Gareth.
Apologies, John.
To follow back on the remarks about thanking the volunteers and the wardens, and to tie in with your remarks, Chair, about sharing what we do. I know the work of being a warden, volunteering in the park, can be challenging and difficult, perhaps not as difficult as being a game warden protecting white rhinos in Africa. But I make that remark not flippantly, because I noticed that this week the Prince of Wales is launching a programme of praise and promotion globally regarding the work of wardens in conservation areas. And it strikes me that maybe in national parks we could tie on this, into this promotion of wardenship, in promoting what we do in the national park, in linking in with the Prince of Wales work and promoting wardenship globally.
Thank you for that comment, John. I'm sure we can have that conversation. Perhaps we park that with the Chairs Committee, if we may, to see how we can make progress with that. Thank you, John. I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand up earlier on. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Catherine, over to you, if I may. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a few quick things from me. Thank you. So first of all, I just wanted to mention, obviously, gorgeous weather, not wet enough, unfortunately. But it does mean that we are getting a lot of visitors, and things are really getting going in terms of some of our hotspots around the park. We have seen some quite difficult and challenging behaviour, which colleagues have had to deal with. To your point about wardenship, I'd like to just express my thanks to them for the work that they're doing. I know there's also been very aggressively some incidents that have involved mountain rescue and other emergency services, which our colleagues have engaged with in helping people in very difficult circumstances. So all of that sort of going on. We've got one particular site which is receiving our urgent attention at Keeper's Pond at the moment. I know a lot of sort of players locally have got engaged with that. We are very actively engaged, both in the looking at the future of the site and how the site is managed, and also our responsibilities around looking after the reservoir there, and that also comes with quite a significant financial sort of implication for us. But just to reassure members that the local members concerned are being kept informed and engaged on that one. I also wanted to just flag that we recently had the Tywyddau Cymru Landscape Wales seminar in the Wye Valley. And the sort of high spot of that was the launch by the Deputy First Minister of the Fermio Bro scheme. So our sort of designated landscapes sustainable farming scheme, which we're sort of kicking off this year. We've got colleagues coming into post to drive that process. And I know members who attended the Nature Development Day sort of got to learn a little bit more about that scheme. So just again, for information, we are very engaged with our farming allies around that scheme and working towards pulling together the sort of local decision-making panel, etc., that will go along with that. And then the final thing just to flag is a big thanks to everyone who is involved with the Hay Festival over the next sort of couple of weeks. So we've got very pleased to say we've got a presence at the festival. It's a chance for us to sort of drive some of our commercial approach, but also crucially to engage everyone who's there at the festival with the national park and the special qualities of the national park. And also a number of our colleagues are speaking on panels, leading walks. We really have got a very strong presence this year. So a big thank you to everyone who's often giving up their spare time to do, to really make that successful for us. So I think that was everything from me. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that, Catherine. Liz, you have your hand up. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Catherine. I understand that late last week that we had confirmation of funding for the ESC partnership, and I just wonder, for those members that are not as involved in it as I am, whether it's worth just saying a few words about that, because we've obviously we lead that partnership and it's very high profile. I find it personally a very exciting partnership with some great possibilities. So although perhaps not as much funding as we might have sought, I think that level is welcome. So are we able just to give a few words to members that are not as involved on that?
Yeah, I can't quote the figures off the top of my head, I'm afraid, but again, we can certainly drop something round as an action from this meeting to update people about the funding that we've received on that. But thank you for raising it. It's been a real relief to receive that confirmation from Welsh Government.
Okay. Simon, thank you. Oh, I thought I saw your hand coming up. Sorry. Okay. Are we all content with that then, friends? And there's an opportunity just to say to Catherine personally a massive thank you for all the amazing work that you do and the staff team. It's been a joy to be alongside of you through the past few weeks. And many thanks, because I know it's been quite a challenging time. And there's been a great deal that's been done. And I know that you have a far more extensive diary than your announcements reveal, Catherine, but I'm sure we don't want to go into all the details of that, but it's good. But just to thank you very much for that one. Okay, friends, shall we now go to item 9.1? And these 9 items are for decisions. So with pleasure, I hand over to you, Richard, to give us some comments on the revised contract standing orders and financial standards, if I may. Over to you, Richard, if allowed. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Before I go through the papers, I just want to express my gratitude to Steve Rayner for his thorough review of the documents, and I've taken some of his comments on board. So thanks very much indeed, Steve. Looking at if I perhaps share my screen, that might be helpful just to make sure we're working through these documents together. So, bit of a backdrop. This document was prepared in conjunction with Parish Coast National Park Authority and an organisation called Barcode, who are an organisation that supports the sector and public bodies in auditing and indeed procurement. So yeah, so it's very much their input as well, and it largely takes on board the impact of the Procurement Act 2023. I know it seemed some years ago, but actually the Act came on board or came in effect from February of this year. So that's what the main purpose of the revised standing orders is. So I don't propose to go into too much detail, though I would say I've been through the document and provided training to staff so that they are aware of the requirements. Just to highlight a couple of standards, if I move on to standard 5, which will give you an indication of what are so depending upon the size of the contracts, we basically then that determines the process which we need to engage with. So up to £1,200, which now includes VAT, which we have to, that's when the consequences for the Act is that all figures need to be stated included VAT. So there is no formal requirement for the procurement process other than to make sure that officers obtain best value. Between 1,200 and 12,000, officers must get at least one to get a written quote, so that there's no potential of misunderstanding. Between 12,000 and 30,000, there is no statutory requirement for officers to advertise, but so they can invite tenders, but those tenders need to come back under what are called sealed bids. So we have a dedicated email address, so the bids come through, and then they're opened with officers. I'll talk more about the opening of tenders in a little while. And above £30,000, that there is a requirement that all those need to be placed on the Celta Wales website, which is a government portal for contracting. And above the Procurement Act 23 threshold, which is circa £220,000, there's again another level of procedures which we have to comply with. So if I just kind of move on to Standard 8, that might be helpful. So you might have heard the term framework agreements and approved lists. There's these the other organisations, like the National Park, have probably already contracted for everything that we potentially could require. So that in the public sector, there are frameworks which we can call upon for the provision of, if you like, auditing facilities. So if there is a national framework or even a local framework that already exists, there's nothing precludes the authority from accessing that framework and contracting with parties who have already gone through a fair deal of scrutiny to get accepted onto the frameworks. So that's the frameworks. We haven't got many framework. I don't at the moment we haven't got any kind of contracts under frameworks, but we are looking to try and maximise the use of those. And I think the other thing I've kind of wanted to stress was and dare I say a bit of an issue when I've observed is the receipt and custody and opening of tenders. So it's important for just to protect officers and indeed the authority that there is a kind of a dual control when tenders are received and opened. So with now requiring that all tenders are opened with a member of the finance team present. I'd say this is largely to protect individual officers and the authority for any kind of contestable awards of contracts. In fact, we have had a couple of contract awards which have been held up due to unsuccessful tenderers objecting. So we've then had to demonstrate the processes that we've have adopted. And I think the last clause I wanted to talk about was the exemptions. So obviously these are in place for us to follow, but the standard does refer to exemptions to when we for a number of reasons feel that we have to break with the contract standing orders. So and like I said, the list of them there, largely to do with, I mean, the ones I've been involved in are the urgency of the work means we can't actually go through the process, because I mean the process should take at least 4 weeks to set up a tender, give tenders time to reply. But so we have provided ourselves the options to kind of circumvent those tenders. I mean, the rules rather. We certainly, that's not our intention to do so by any means, and it's only with the very rare exception. So other than that, I'm happy to take any questions that you might have on the contracts and the orders.
Thank you very much for that very clear resume, Richard. It's very good. Liz, we have your hand up. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. I just want to say how lovely and clear both your presentation, but also how it's written is. I think it makes this much easier for us to engage in. I've got one general question. I've got a very specific one as well. The general question: the Welsh Government are very keen that we take into account social value and also community benefits. I just wonder whether those aspects could be actually strengthened somewhere in a general sense throughout this document. Obviously, just for local procurement and for the economic well-being of our communities. The specific one that just jumped out to me there, which you may not know, the insurances that are required. I don't know, from the other side of the fence, sometimes for quite small contracts, the recommendations and the requirements for insurance can seem very heavy, up to 2 million, 5 million for very small amounts. And I just wondered whether there was a sliding scale there, because obviously very small contracts don't need that amount of public liability insurance when looking for tenders. So to jump that one on you, but it just came out to me. But the one about social value, I just welcome some sort of reflections on that, really.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Sorry, Richard. Thank you.
I would say the Celta Wales website does have a section which deals with social values. I see no. Sorry about that. There's, hopefully you can still hear me.
Yeah.
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 Sorry, I had a message on my screen. So the Celta Wales website does have a section which deals with social values, but I take on board your comment that we can incorporate a section or a narrative to that effect. With regard to insurances for contractors, obviously it is something which our insurers are asking us to raise that question on behalf of when we contract, and I think it's a question of objectivity and just what is proportionate to the nature of the contract. So I think we do discuss require insurances to be in place, but I think we can look at on a case per case basis to find out what is really required.
Yeah, just to clarify, yes, insurances must be in place, but it's the proportionality of it that was my point, really. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you very much, Richard, and thank you also, Liz, for that very good question. I'm just looking, any more comments, friends? Are we ready to go to a vote?
Sorry, Chair.
Yeah.
In my own unique way, I have my hand raised in the room, hoping you can see.
Oh, sorry, John, please shout at me.
It's causing laughter here. So, following on from Liz's remark on social value, and my apologies, Richard, my eye surgery means I've not given this as minute a focus as I would have liked to in document terms. But I'm wondering, whereas procurement is obviously largely a fiscally driven element, to what extent we are and can further embed carbon value net zero targets into our procurement processes, which follows on from the social value, I guess.
Thank you, John. Over to you, Richard. Sorry I didn't see you earlier on, John. Thank you. Richard?
That's a very good question, and I think it again is something which we could incorporate into our tendering documentation. We could ask for tenderers to respond at what they predict their carbon kind of footprint would be as a result of the award of the contract. So that was more to do with the actual specific tendering documents. So we could score the contract based upon, we're going to have that as one of the questions in the when we're looking at the tenders.
Okay, thank you very much, Richard. Thank you for that question, John, also. Okay, friends, any more comments on that one? Okay, then we'll have two votes on this one. We'll need a proposer and a seconder. The first vote is to approve the revised contract standing orders delegating minor amendments to the Chief Financial Officer. Could I have a proposer and a seconder, please? Peter Baldwin, thank you, and Liz, thank you. So can we proceed to the vote, Gemma, if we could, please?
Diolch, David. I will run through everybody's names. If you can clearly state for, against, or abstain, and I will total up your votes. So I will start with Dr. Liz Bickerton.
For.
Mr. Steve Rayner.
For.
Councillor Ed Jones.
For.
Councillor Peter James.
For.
Councillor Peter Baldwin.
For.
Professor John Hunt.
For.
Mr. Julian Stedman.
Julian?
Hello. Me, is it?
Yes.
Yes, for.
Thank you. Mr. Craig Stevenson.
Obliged.
Councillor Simon Howard.
For.
Councillor Hugh Williams.
For.
Councillor Edward Modric.
Obliged.
Councillor Gareth Ratcliffe.
For.
And Callum Allen Edward.
Obliged.
That's I think I've got everybody. Yeah, that's unanimously for. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Unless there's anything else to be said, can we now move to vote 2, which is to approve the revised financial standards, delegating minor amendments to the Chief Finance Officer. Again, can I please have a proposer and a seconder, please? John, thank you for putting your hand up. John, anyone else to second, please? Hugh, thank you. Diolch yn fawr. Thank you. Over to you, Jan.
Diolch yn fawr. Same process. I will start with Councillor Edwin Roderick.
Right.
Councillor Peter James.
For.
Mr. Steve Rayner.
For.
Mr. Craig Stevenson.
For Blaid.
Councillor Hugh Williams.
For Blaid.
Councillor Ed Jones.
For.
Dr. Liz Bickerton.
For.
Councillor Gareth Ratcliffe.
For.
Councillor Peter Baldwin.
For.
Professor John Hunt.
Obliged.
Mr. Julian Steadman.
For.
4, yeah. Councillor Simon Howard.
Obliged.
Canon Alice Edwards.
Obliged.
Thank you again, unanimously for. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And once again, may I thank Richard and his staff for that excellent work. It's been a very, very thorough piece of work. It needed to be done years ago. So we're immensely grateful to you, Richard, and thank you for that clarity. We really do appreciate it. Okay, gawn ni ymlaen I item 9.2. We'll go ahead to item 9.2, which is the Welsh Language Monitoring Report. Unfortunately, Bronwyn can't be with us, but the rest of us will try and field any questions we can. Just i'ch cyfeirio chi at y safonau'r Gymraeg. Os oes unrhyw sylw o neu gwestiwn, if there's any comments or questions, please. Craig, diolch yn fawr.
Diolch yn fawr, Cadeirydd. I just wanted to check a couple of things. So, obviously, welcome the report on the Welsh Language Standards and the monitoring report, and particularly that there have been no complaints. That's always a good place to start. I'm noting that we delivered 8 educational sessions through the Medium of Welsh, or the education team did, involving almost 400 children in the last year. I note that that's a similar number to the previous year. And in the context of the Welsh Government's remit letter to us and a reference to pushing towards 1 million Welsh speakers, I had a question around whether whether we have a strategy in place, or if we don't, should we have a strategy in place on targeting Welsh medium education to kind of grow the number of sessions that we deliver in Welsh. And I had a second question then on I've heard reference to revised Welsh language standards coming into play at some point, and I wanted to make sure that we as an authority are on the front foot with that and we're engaged with that process if they impact on the public sector. Thank you.
Well, Craig, I'm going to ask Catherine if you'd answer the first one and I'll refer to the second one if that's okay, Catherine, but feel free to answer both if you wish. Thank you. Okay,
thank you. Yeah, on the first question, on the specifics, I would have to bring that back as an action if that's okay, Craig. But I will take the opportunity just to plug something which has been worked on as part of Sefyllfa Cymru, Landscapes Wales, which is a really great educational resource. I have to say it's really useful for Welsh learners of all ages, called Terlearn. I don't know if we've circulated the link to it, but it's a really great resource and is there to support schools with their education in Welsh about the natural world and how to engage young learners in the natural world. Yeah, just really commend that piece of work. On the targeting of the lessons, we'll certainly come back with a detailed response on that. And then on the revised Welsh language standards, if they apply to public bodies, they will apply to us and we will engage with them. We will be putting together a new strategy towards the end of this year So I'm sure we'll pick it up in that, but I'll defer to the chair who may know more on this. Thank you.
Yeah.
Diolch.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Just to say that I will be attending the Urdd next week with a mind to actually reflecting on these issues. Mi fyddai'n cyfarfod efo Comisiynydd y Gymraeg, a mae'n gyfle codidog i ni, dwi'n meddwl, Craig, i fod yn fwy creadigol ac yn fwy egniol ynglyn â hyrwyddo'r Gymraeg oddi fewn i'r parc. Ac yn sicr fe'n gwrando arni hi ac yn dod yn ôl i'r awdurdod. Os Kai, I will be returning to you afterwards. But thank you for that question, Craig. Thank you.
Croeso, diolch.
Huw, dos o'i gyd eich fawr?
Ie, diolch yn fawr Gadeirydd, a gallai weid mae'r report yn un da hefyd. But can I ask, it is a comprehensive report, but the proof is in the pudding, in the end. Can I ask, do we know, or have we conducted an audit into the number of Welsh speakers we have within the National Park's staff? And are they distinguishable? Do they make themselves, do the wardens and the volunteers or the other people working on our behalf make it known that they speak Welsh? Do they have a badge? Do they well, whatever. Sorry.
Diolch yn fawr, Huw. Catherine, do you want to respond to that one?
Yeah, so I don't know the number off the top of my head, but we do know how many Welsh speakers we have amongst our staff, and obviously we also encourage all staff to learn Welsh if they don't speak Welsh already. And there is a group of sort of active learners and Welsh conversationalists. Staff can identify themselves through their use of email in terms of a thing on the bottom that says that they are able to communicate in Welsh. There are also lanyard sort of tags that you can have to identify yourself as a Welsh speaker. And I think for the sort of field staff, if you like, our wardens, etc., there's been an active strategy of recruiting Welsh speakers. Obviously, also on reception, looking at our colleague in the room here, absolutely vital to have Welsh language sort of competent people out there. So it's very much part of our recruitment strategy, and it will be known that those people speak Welsh. So yeah, we do everything we can to identify. Again, we'll come back with the numbers, and this aspect will be very much something that we pick up in the more strategic review that we'll do. And I should say, and it says in the report, that we also have all available to all staff some online learning about how to use business Welsh, which is available for everyone who joins the authority or who is part of the authority. So we can always do more to promote Welsh, and we really aim to do that, but it's something which is sort of manifests in a number of ways across our work.
Chair, can I come back to that? Thank you, Catherine. I appreciate all that. It's a resource that we probably already own, to be honest, within the staff core. So I think it's important that they are maximised. And it should be noted, perhaps, that there's at least 4 or 5 of us members, at least 4 or 5, speak Welsh.
Yeah. Diolch yn fawr, Huw. Edwin, diolch yn fawr.
Yeah, diolch. Just build on what Councillor Huw has just said, actually. And Catherine, I think as far as the wardens out there, what you just touched on, Catherine, like a lanyard saying, "Fi'n siarad Cymraeg," just something like that. It warms people to you, I think, when you go up there, because believe it or not, I do go up there quite a few times, and you hear people talking, and I'll go on and do it, and they're more than happy then to speak through the medium of Welsh, and they feel more comfortable, to be perfectly honest with you. But I think, for the wardens out there, and just reiterating, we've got a fantastic bunch of wardens. That little landlord, or even a badge, just something like that. Yeah.
Diolch yn fawr iawn am y cwestiwn yna. Just to say, from my point of view, I'm also, as a first language Welsh speaker, I do take advantage of the opportunity, courteously and graciously, I hope, just to give a little bit of history of places that may occasionally be mispronounced, like Penmarsh, and to speak to issues being called, places being called Penmarch, as a wonderful opportunity to say the story about horses galloping all over Wales and those traditions and those stories. So it's good. But I do take on the substance of what we have here. It is significant that we don't have any complaints, given the profile that we've had of promoting the Welsh language. And I think it is also good that we can actually encourage good practice by being friends, encouraging, by being positive, and actually developing this agenda in that way, which is good. So, Francis, if there's no other comments, Hugh, is that a legacy hand?
Oh, sorry, Chair.
Sorry, yeah. Diolch, Hugh. Thank you all for that. Okay, then, shall we now go, if we may, to the vote to agree the report for the submission to the Welsh Language Commissioner and report to be published on the authority's website I gymeradwyo yr adroddiad sydd wedi'i gyflwyno I Gomisiynydd yr Iaith Gymraeg a'r adroddiad hefyd wedyn I gael ei gyhoeddi a safle we yr awdurdod. Dwi dal I gyfieithu ar y pryd weithiau, ond yn fler iawn. So if we could have a proposer and a seconder for that vote, please. Thank you. Hugh, diolch yn fawr. Edwin, diolch yn fawr iawn I chi hefyd, diolch yn fawr. So can we proceed to a vote, Gemma, if we may?
Just to note that Councillor Gareth Ratcliffe has now stepped out, so I won't include him in this vote. Okay. I will start with Dr. Liz Victor.
For.
You, Councillor Hugh Williams.
For.
Councillor Ed Jones.
For.
Councillor Peter Baldwin.
For.
Mr. Steve Rayner.
For.
Councillor Edwin Roderick.
Obliged.
Councillor Peter James.
For.
Councillor Simon Howard.
Obliged.
Mr. Julian Steadman.
For.
Mr. Craig Stevenson.
Obliged.
Professor John Hunt.
Obliged.
Canon Island Edwards.
Obliged.
Yeah, unanimously for. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you all very much, colleagues. Diolch yn fawr iawn I chi gyd am hwnna. Mi symudwn ni ymlaen yn gyflym felly I 9.3, Standing Orders Review and Update as of May 2025. And Catherine, I'm going to hand that over to you if I may. Diolch yn fawr.
So standing orders, obviously one of our key documents. I'd just like to express my great thanks to Gemma for her help and support and indeed doing a lot of the heavy lifting on the update to this document, which we substantially revised to align with our new scheme of delegation, be in line with our operating model. We've had a set of standing orders previously which had been sort of had things added to them, including the ways of working that needed to be adopted when we had to go virtual around COVID. So a lot of work's been done to sort of bring everything in line. Quite a lot of the language was quite baroque, so we tried to make it a bit more accessible. We've also degendered the language and tried to just make it a bit more simple and accessible. The document's been thoroughly reviewed by our monitoring officer, who offered some helpful comments which we integrated. And we've also tried to just make sure that we're picking up sort of realistic ways of working in terms of how things are running. There's a few other sort of changes to some of the ways of working. So, for example, the fact that the deputy chair of the authority is now automatically also the chair of the finance committee, for example, and so is picked up in this document. So it's quite a detailed document, which I'm sure people have been through, but it's also a key part of the overall review of governance documents, and you've seen a few of them today in terms of the contract standing orders, finance standing orders, etc., which is our continuing work on the governance of this organisation, and which we hope will satisfy the statutory recommendations as well from Audit Wales. So hopefully a fairly straightforward document now, and happy to answer any questions if we can. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Any comments or questions, friends? I can't see any hands up just yet.
I got a hand up, Alan.
Oh, sorry, Steve. Shout loudly at me if you're in the room. Thank you. Thanks, Steve.
That's okay. Yeah, I have a slight concern about the change where we're sorry, we're requiring all members to sit on at least one committee, and I totally understand the thinking behind that. My concern, though, is that given the number of places there are on committees, we could find ourselves in a position where we're displacing active members from committees by effectively ensuring or insisting that we have everybody represented, if you get where I'm coming from. And then we find that those members don't actually turn up on those committees. So I'm just a little bit concerned we could be shooting ourselves in the foot by that requirement. So I think we just need to monitor. I'm fully behind the principle behind it, but I think we need to really monitor how that's working and whether we're getting the attendance we want. And actually, does it work when we come to the AGM? If people are monitoring them, people are nominating themselves, are we actually going to get in reality a situation where we do have everybody on a committee? So we'll have to sort of work that process through. Totally behind the principle, but I'm just worried that it might not quite work in practice. So I think just something for us to, I guess, review in 6 months' time or thereabouts.
Yeah.
Steve, I think your point is very well made. And I think if Gareth was with us, he would underline the fact that we are reviewing that process and trying to make sure that we do deliver on it. So I suspect the members will see a cultural change in making sure that those positive outcomes are actually attained. But I thank you for your point there. Catherine, do you wish to speak to that?
I think it's the amendment's been made because it's good practice, and as officers we have to bring forward standing orders which support the remuneration that members receive and the time commitment that goes with that. And therefore we've made those changes at the request of the chair and deputy chair who we spoke to about these before we put them together.
Thank you both. Are you content with that, Steve, that we do monitor it as robustly?
Yeah, I'm content as long as we're alive to just
okay.
Assessing what actually happens in practice.
Yeah, thank you very much, Steve. I think the point is well made, as I said. Okay, friends, can we now go to the vote to agree the updated standing orders? So can I have a proposer and a seconder, please? Steve, Edwin, thank you. Thank you. Gemma, over to you.
Yours, David. Okay, let's start with Mr. Steve Rayner.
4.
Councillor Ed Jones.
4.
Councillor Hugh Williams.
Obliged.
Councillor Simon Howard.
Obliged.
Dr. Liz Vickerton.
4.
Councillor Peter Baldwin.
4.
Mr. Julian Steadman.
4.
Councillor Edwin Woodrick.
Obliged.
Pastor John Hunt.
Obliged.
Mr. Craig Stevenson.
Obliged.
And Naled Edwards.
Obliged.
And Councillor Peter James.
4.
That's unanimously 4. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that, colleagues. I think we're doing good pace this morning. Can we now go to 10.1, the strategic grant letter, April 2025? Catherine, over to you just to give a quick reference to that, if I may. Thank you.
Diolch, Cadeirydd. Yes, an important document for us. It's obviously the letter from the Deputy First Minister to us containing an overview of our additional funding, as well as our strategic grant, and also what's required in return for that. It sits alongside the term of government letter that we had back in 2022, but really sort of updates it to reflect some of the newer priorities, given the sort of changes in Welsh government as well. It is quite a challenging set of priorities in terms of the resources that we have available to deliver all of it. Obviously, our strategic focus is delivery of our National Park Management Plan, which contains our wellbeing objectives, etc. So it is helpful that the letter also has an indication about where, if we have to prioritise, we should. And obviously those are very much in line with our wellbeing goals in terms of the climate crisis, nature's recovery, etc. We have recently heard that Welsh Government officials now want to work with us to begin to work up some KPIs and some monitoring of how we're doing against this strategic remit letter. It's helpful timing in that we're also giving some thought to what our organisational KPIs should be, etc., as we sort of continue to work on our corporate priorities. But I do believe there's good alignment between the priorities which members signed off in March this year in terms of the corporate plan and the contents of the letter. So it's very much something to note. I think it's something we should be public in sort of saying we're working to. But I do just note that given the financial challenges that we face, it is quite a demanding set of priorities for us, which requires some quite ruthless prioritisation on our part. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Catherine, for that. Any questions, any comments, friends? Okay, then. Shall we then note that by the show of hands, please, if we may? Thank you all very much for that. 10.2, the audit inquiries to management and those charged with governance letter, April 2025. Richard, over to you for that one. Richard, can we hear you?
There we go. Beg your pardon.
Sorry, Richard, we can hear you now.
Communications issues. So this is a requirement from Audit Wales each year just to review our kind of various procedures regarding giving them assurances about our governance and various criteria. Excuse me 1 second as I just open it up. Geez.
Richard, are you there?
Sorry, beg your pardon. There we go. So we've each year we have to complete this standing requirement, and it basically is it's just to, as I mentioned, provide assurances to audit during their annual audit processes. So I think you've been through, as Catherine and I went through it in detail. We've given our responses. I think Aled has also had a chance to consider it. So I'm open to any questions that might be arising from it.
Okay. Thank you, Richard. It seems a very tidy procedural issue. Any comments or questions from anyone, friends? I can't see anything there. So we note that by the show of hands, if we may. Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you for that note, Richard. Thank you. Okay, we're now moving to items for noting. The procurement exemption report 11.1. Over to you, Catherine.
Yes, very much part of our routine reporting of exemptions, picking up on the contract standing orders that we members discussed earlier on in the meeting. You'll see from the two items of exemption that they were both really relatively low value items that were procured from single source because of the need to get on with the work. So one was around dry stone walling on Minfield. The other was needing to purchase some equipment to potentially deal with any fire issues. So hopefully fairly obvious why we needed to get those things done quickly. So other than that, happy to take any questions, but hopefully relatively self-explanatory item. Yeah.
Any questions or comments, friends?
Chair, can I ask, what is the bespoke system for damping of fires?
Catherine, you know more than I do.
Is it? Do you want to?
I believe, being down in Depot, I think it's some sort of attachment that either goes on the flail bot or the quad that can go alongside the fire. I don't know whether it sprays it, I don't know what it is, but it's some piece of equipment that goes onto another piece of equipment to help whether they're cutting the fire lines or can go alongside the fire line. That was my general understanding of being down with wardens. But I haven't seen the piece of equipment.
Here, would you like to inform us
Thank you
more?
for that technical answer, Jim.
I can help them there. Give you a bit of a technical answer.
Edwin,
What it is nothing but a blower, and I saw it being operated, and it's quite. I never thought to do it, but if they put the blower against the fire, you understand me? You've got the fire leading towards you in the grass, but the blower, just one of these hand blowers, it stops the fire and it goes back and it stops it burning.
Ah.
It's so simple. It's magic, really. And you know, we're at a position at the moment, especially with the weather as it is, where these wildfires are just cropping up everywhere.
Yeah. Diolch Huw, diolch Edwin, diolch Gemma.
Yes. Very safe and water too.
Yes. Any more notes on that one, friends?
Oh, we went right now, Hugh.
Yeah. Can we show our contentment by show of hands, please, if we can? Thank you very much. Thank you, Catherine and Joe. Oh, Edward? Ed?
No, didn't mean to be, no.
Oh, sorry. No, it's okay. I keep getting something flashing up on my screen. Urgent business, I'm not aware of any, Gemma. Have we been informed? So that's good. And we've got one final item, which is access to information, just to discuss something briefly. So, Gemma, can I ask you to take us through that process, if I could, please?
Okay, I will read through the recommendation. So the recommendation is that pursuant to the provisions of Section 100A of the Local Government Act 1972, the publicly excluded from the meeting the following items of business on the grounds that they would be disclosed to them of exempt information as defined in paragraphs 12, 13 and 14 of Part 4 of Schedule 12A of the above Act, and the public interest in maintaining the exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing the information.
Okay, thank you.
Have a proposal and a second?
Yes. Okay, we're all content that we heard that and we read it, haven't we? So, John, are you proposing?
Yes.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please? Gareth? Yeah, thank you. So, do we now proceed to a vote, Gemma, or do we just go by hands?
Yes, I'll run through this. I will start with Councillor Edwin Roderick.
Like.
Councillor Ed Jones.
For.
Mr. Steve Rayner.
For.
Mr. Craig Stevenson.
Obliged.
Councillor Hugh Williams.
Obliged.
Councillor Simon Howard.
Obliged.
Councillor Peter Baldwin.
Obliged.
Councillor Gareth Ratcliffe.
For.
Mr. Julian Steadman.
For.
Professor John Hunt.
Obliged.
Dr. Liz Bickerton.
For.
Councillor Peter James.
For.
Canon Alex Edwards.
Obliged.
That's unanimously for. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Now, it gives me great pleasure to ask Gemma to present a report on the appointment
Just
process.
say, should we just close this then? If we close down, are you happy to close down?
Thank you. Oh, sorry, I was too quick there. Thank you, Gemma.
You were waiting there.
Yeah.